The cone-shaped hill south of the Temple Mount is the 3,000-year-old location of David's city. In recent years, archaeologists excavated large portions of the walls and water channels, not to mention a hoard of coins and royal clay seals of biblical personages. Archaeologist Eilat Mazar proposes that this large stone structure might be the remains of David's palace. The fortifications prevented enemies from conquering the hill. Here in Area G, King David incorporated the already existing Jebusite structures into the royal quarter. This typical First Temple era dwelling belonged to one named Achiel. Across the Kidron Valley to modern Silwan, aristocratic tombs dating to the First Temple period are carved into the bedrock. They possibly served as burial places for the house of David. On the way to the water source, the pulsating karstic Gihon Spring was the heartbeat of the city and still flows today. The ancients enhanced the already natural tunnel to gain access to the water. The shaft was discovered by Charles Warren in the 19th century and is now named after him. In antiquity, the water source needed to be within the confines of the city wall in case of siege. Water systems were often a weak link in the rampart defenses. It was through the water channels that David's general Joab gained access to conquer the Jebusite city. This Canaanite fortification protected the spring. During the rebellion of Absalom, Zadok, the priest, anointed Solomon as king. The steep zigzag configuration of the wall demonstrates the necessity of protecting the valuable life-giving source of water. The most famous of four channels was enhanced by Hezekiah in the 8th century BCE. The winding tunnel was hand-carved by men working simultaneously from opposite ends of the city. By taking soundings, they eventually met up with each other deep underground. The channel directed the water towards the lower city. Adjacent to the entrance of the spring, this dry tunnel leads to the southeast fortification of the city. The First Temple era walls here are designated as Area E, built of large field stones along a natural scarp. In 1913, French archaeologist Raymond Weil thought that the quarry and tombs here belonged to the house of David, but there is doubt. McKinney suggests that the Theodotus inscription Weil found gives witness to a first-century synagogue, perhaps that of Saints Stephen and Paul. The nearby water installations give a viable reconstruction that it is the synagogue of the freedmen of Acts 6:9. The Pool of Siloam was a large trapezoidal step structure. Even in modern times, the pool can fill with rainwater. During the Second Temple period, Jesus commanded the blind man in John 9 to go and rinse his eyes in this pool. The water provided refreshment or possibly ritual purification for those going to the temple. Around the corner, the Byzantine-era Pool of Siloam collects the water from Hezekiah's tunnel, with a copy of the Siloam inscription etched into its walls. A monumental Herodian stepped street leading from the Pool of Siloam up the Tyropean Valley to the western wall is currently being excavated. The stairs accommodated thousands of pilgrims for the feasts. While scaling this drainage canal of the street, 600 meters in length, archaeologists found a gold bell similar to what the high priest would have worn. The high priest would have walked the street to collect the water from the Pool of Siloam in order to perform libation purification of the bronze altar in the temple. During the Great Revolt in 70 CE, Jewish rebels fled here for their last stand underground against Rome. Upon reaching the western wall of the Temple Mount, stone masons left these underground ashlars unfinished, unlike their smooth counterparts above ground. By emerging at the wall, the street is littered with the debris field of the destroyed temple, a sober memorial to all who see it. The monumental staircase at Robinson's Arch conveyed people onto the Temple Mount from the street below. At the southwest corner of the wall, a trumpeter heralded the beginning and end of the Sabbath. The engraved stone still sits where it fell. When the Islamic conquest came to Jerusalem, the first caliphate of the Umayyad dynasty built an enormous palace here. By incorporating temple debris into the wall, they also built the Al-Aqsa and Dome of the Rock. During the Second Temple era, people made their way to be ritually purified by immersing themselves in living water. The entire area of Ophel Hill, the saddle between David City and the Temple Mount, was filled with mikveot and cisterns. The southern wall had two sets of portals of Hulda gates. With alternating stairs of long and short, pedestrians had to regulate their ascent. During the time of the feasts, the double gate was an exit. By scaling the stairs to gain entrance into the richly decorated interior of the triple gate and to enter the temple precinct, the tunnel angled up to the temple platform. In the New Testament account, the southeast corner might be the pinnacle of the temple, where Satan transported Jesus and tempted him to jump. Perhaps in the near future, we will walk again from the Pool of Siloam to the Temple Mount as they did during the feasts of the Second Temple era.